Right, so the person on the left tells you to eat more steak and eggs. The person on the right probably looks like someone from your work. Now, a quick story. The reason I've got this meme up here is because I just think it's hilarious. Like, the people who are always ranting and raving of how eggs and meat are bad for you usually look like this. And the people who actually just shut up and eat more steak and eggs usually look something like that. So here's a quick story. Back in my old job, which was here, I just brought up a few images for you guys to to have a look at. For context, this was one of the places I used to work, and it was the last place I was at. So it's an oil terminal here, and I've got the map here so you can see where the UK is and where I was working in the middle of fucking nowhere. And then I was either there or here. So this one here is an onshore process facility, and then this one is a rig. So not too far from here, we would have been out in the middle of the nowhere, right? Just some context in case you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So somewhere in one of these buildings here that I'm pointing to would have been the tea shack, right? And every day we used to stay in accommodation and then drive across this road to start our long ass shift, right? And at break time, I used to whip out eggs. I used to whip out like 6 boiled eggs, cans of tuna, olive oil, and used to like soak the tuna in olive oil because it was so disgusting. I wanted some healthy fats, but normal tuna is like rotten, so I just put that in, and you should have seen a lot of their whole faces, man. And we're talking about people who look like this and say how eggs is bad for your cholesterol, right? The irony in the whole thing is fucking mad. Well, they're sitting eating what was the thing that they were always eating, like Twixes and shit at 7 in the morning and M&Ms. So if you're dealing with any of this, the whole point of this is to bring me to my point of the video today, which is nobody's coming to save you, so you've got to look after yourself, right? So the things I've learned from getting to what I call stage 1, if you're at stage 0, which you're in your job at the moment, and you want to get to this life where you control your time and your location at least, right? So we've got level 0, stuck in a job, hating their life, dealing with people like that on the right, and you want to get to level 1 at least, which is controlling your time and location, and then level 2 would be controlling your income via business or something. Now I'm at level 1 right now. I haven't controlled my income. I'm at what you call like financial freedom, which is like when you basically get wealthy, right? But I've got enough to basically live in a different location and not turn up to here. So that's the point of this video, right? The journey that I took to it could have been probably reduced because of certain habits, but I did do certain things right, like eating a lot of eggs and trying to maintain some exercise whilst I was trying to craft my escape. But you might be in the position where you're falling for some of these things here, right? So I've just given you some pictures of in context of what I used to do. Like this is, I think I posted this one in the last video, but it's just a reminder to how depressed I looked and how early my day used to start at 4:30. So yeah, this is the main point today. Things that will zap your energy. If you're not already doing like cutting out these things, then I highly suggest you do to get to level 1, which is living freely, working remotely. I'm not saying I'm rich because I'm not. I'm location and time rich, just not financially yet. So this things here, things that will zap your energy. Listening to people on the right, when you hear the 9 to 5 like jargon, the shite talk, right? Thank goodness it's Friday. Not long enough. Like you talk about their holiday and they're like, oh, it was not long enough, ha ha ha. Or they'll say back to reality on a Monday morning. I want you to, in your head, stick the middle finger up to anyone who spits that shit out, because unfortunately you can't escape any of those people until you escape the job. So we always hear about you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, but you can counteract that if you're working a job with a bunch of miserable people, right? You can watch videos like this. You can join my community that's linked in the description for free, where you get people who are going to support you. Because if you're in a job and people are depressed and alcoholics and like they're out of shape, telling you that cholesterol's bad for eggs and like speaking about porn and speaking about all that shit, like you've got to have some sort of frame and barrier in your mind ready to put up. Because if you don't, you'll become like them. You'll absorb their ideas, and the next thing you know, you're in some sort of weird consumerism trap. So like, you'll try and keep up with the next guy who's getting a mortgage or a fancy car, and it's just a depressing cycle of doom. So I want you to stick up the middle finger in your head as soon as you hear this, which I can guarantee you hear every day, not just at the start and the end of the week. You'll hear shite like that every day. Now, these are the real leeches of energy. So, like I'm saying, watch these kind of videos, join the communities that are going to help you, and then avoid the things I'm going to tell you next, okay? So, things like that continue to leech your energy are meal deals. That's just an example. You might be a busy corporate guy and you go to one of the supermarkets for lunch, right? You pick up a meal deal. Now, we're speaking about energy here. And the reason you need energy is because everything is against you as a young man trying to get to this position. Because you've got all the distractions that is listed here, and you've got all the negativity at your work with the guys that look like that. And then you've got all these things, here, right? So when you're doing all these things, you contribute to the percentage of, like, rate of failure, the chance, right? It's so stacked. The odds are so stacked up against you because you're surrounded by idiots that don't care and they try and tear you down for any level of enthusiasm that you've got. And then if you're added to that, you're doing all this shit. The odds really are stacked up against you. So how do you counteract that? Well, do not go and eat meal deals with 400 ingredients at your lunch break, for example, because it's not healthy. So if it's not healthy for your gut, it's not healthy for your mind. Drinking is obvious. Like, it destroys your sleep, testosterone, cognitive function, motivation. It's a depressant, and it gives you anxiety. So if you're trying to escape that life that you're in right now, for me, like, when I worked away from home for 3 weeks at a time, I came home and wanted to drink, and I did. But now I realized how stupid it was, because it slowed me down. Now we've got a limited amount of time and energy to get an escape before you might cave to certain responsibilities in life. Maybe you already have. And if you have caved to certain responsibilities, fair enough. But drinking's going to make escaping even harder, because as we age, we get less energy. Well, if you do it right, you don't. But I'm talking about the average person. They'll lose energy, they'll lose motivation, they get constant pressure, maybe buy a house, buy a bigger car, get kids, get more responsibilities, pay the expensive holidays, and then you're adding this in the mix. You've got no energy left, right? You're left at the end of the day after your shift with no energy. So why are you taking even less? Why are you going into the negative energy? By drinking. And then I'm not even going to say anything about this because, it's retarded, really. If you think you're going to be able to escape this with poison in your brain with shit like that, then how am I meant to help you? This is quite a difficult one to crack, late night screen time. But if you manage to, like, turn the phone on to, what's it called? Like, mine goes black and white after a certain time, right? So when you've done that, it's stopping the blue light hit your eyes, because the blue light stops melatonin being released in your brain. So your brain still thinks it's daylight. And then what happens? Well, you get less sleep because you can't sleep. And then the quality of sleep decreases. And then your energy goes down. So then the next day that you wake up and you've got your shift, but you do your little work before your shift, you're fucked. How do I know? Because I've done this. And then this one is obvious. I don't think YouTube would be happy if I said it out loud, but when you do this, you're giving energy to nothing. It's your dopamine receptors are getting fried because you've had a little pleasure for nothing, literally nothing, right? And it ruins your energy again. So it all ties back into the how much energy input can I put into my escape plan? And if you're doing any of these things, then you're kind of pushing into the negative balance, right? And then this one, not moving your body, you just got to do something, because the blood flow to the brain will give you some more energy. You'll feel better. You get serotonin, get endorphins released in your brain, and it gives you more motivation and ideas, and it's just a game changer, okay? And then instead of going home or on your lunch break, I'm trying to think of after a shift or like anything like that, do not do this, because that's what 99% of people do. And 99% of people never live the life that they want to. So why are you going to copy what they're doing? Because it'll suck you in, and for hours, man, you'll be sitting scrolling on TikTok. It's going to fry your dopamine, fry your attention span, which you need an attention span to escape, because you need to focus on learning skills and fixing your mind and brain and body, sorry. And then this is crazy, because when you're not taking the time to think about what you want, because you've got no energy for after your shift, and you're tired all the time because you're doing all these things, and then you've got no time because you work a job, for example, like me, where it was 12-hour shifts. You've got limited time as it is. So doing all these things just puts you in a position where you're going to struggle to escape, right? And this is super important, because if you actually think about it, you'll be able to start thinking of things that you sort of maybe don't like in your life. So just flip it to the opposite and go in that direction. So what's an example of that, right? So I have always hated being told to turn up at a place for, not only that, for like this much time. So it's like, you'll be here tomorrow for 12 hours. I hated it. So what do I think the opposite of that is? Well, this, working remotely. So I still have to do work, obviously, but I choose when to do it and where from. So that solved the biggest pain point in my life for me. So it might be the same for you. But I never really had this until I start to actually think. And this will be forced if you become aware of how much you don't like the job you're doing. Taking the time to think will become second nature. Sorry. So right now, I'm at level 1. Like I said at the start, I've achieved an income that doesn't require me to be at a certain location or turn up at a set time, which is amazing. So you might be trying to get to this, which is fair. My next level is 2, which is deciding. I'm just making these levels up, by the way. It's just for context to understand parts of the journey. My next level is 2, which is deciding my big life vision, chasing financial freedom, which is the last pillar. You can almost never do this while working a job, which what I did, because unless you come from money or get lucky with some shit coin that you've invested in, I don't know many people who go from just job to complete freedom. There is a process, usually. Okay, of course, there's somebody that blew up on TikTok with one video, or they didn't have to learn any skills because they got rich with crypto or some shit like that, right? But for the 99% of us, there's levels to the game and there's levels of freedom. But the most painful one that you're experiencing right now at level 0 is the fact that somebody's telling you will be here tomorrow at this time, putting up with this shit, putting up with like all the HR politics and all that pish. So when you actually get to level 1, I'd argue that it's the most satisfying feeling that you could ever feel, because you don't have to put up with any of that now. You know, you just set up a home office, go wherever you want in the world. For example, I'm in Vietnam right now with a home set up, not dealing with any of that shit, right? So, like I said, you're stuck because you've got no energy or time, and you spend most of your money, which creates a cycle of doom, which most never escape. So once you come to realize that you can control a little bit of your energy, right? We've given up the fact that, accepted the fact that your time is taken up, okay? You're still working a job, that's fair. I gave away 84 hours a week. So if you can give it a little bit less than that, then you got a better chance than me. And I managed to do it. So, like I said, this list here will give you a severe advantage. If you cut all that shit out, you will have an advantage, and you will be able to manipulate the energy that you have, because everything is, the more energy you put into something, the more you'll get out. So a lot of the jobs rely on you having no energy, no time, and no brain capacity left, so you can be their little corporate drone forever. So you have to learn to manipulate the game, and you're probably a young man with unlimited energy if you just stop that shit. So you go from level 0 to 1 by avoiding the list we covered, and that's what I want to cover today. I just want to recap on this. So you'll probably start cleaning yourself up, and you'll get shit from people who look like this, and you've just got to remember that if you want to escape this, and you want to not look like me here, which is, I mean, it's pure depression. That's what it is. It was like 4 a.m. at a distillery, and this picture here, and I decided to take a picture. I don't know what was going on. I'm obviously like soaking wet. Yeah, crap. If you don't want to be like that, you cannot listen to the guys on the right. You've got to find guys on the left, and guys that will tell you to avoid all this, right? Which is what we do inside Freedom Copy Collective. We not only do this, which is fix your energy, but we also teach beginners how to write copy and get their first client. At the moment, I'm teaching beginners how to get their first client, how to write copy, how to research properly, how to find clients, just sharing what's worked for me so far. And also I've got some modules coming on what I've just talked about, like the best practices to, utilize your energy that you've got, and just tips and tricks for that to stay more disciplined, because it's a tough road, man. But yeah, that's it from me on this one. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.